Good day, everyone. Today, I will discuss the martyrdom of Dr. Jose Rizal at Bagumbayan on December 30, 1896, one of the most important events in Philippine history. Being sentenced to death by a Spanish military court, Rizal spent his final hours in Fort Santiago, calmly preparing for what he knew would be the end of his life. Even though the trial was widely considered unjust, Rizal showed great courage and composure during his last moments. During the final 24 hours before his execution, Rizal was allowed to meet his family, close friends, priests, and some supporters. These meetings were emotional as they knew it would be their last time seeing him. Despite the sadness of the situation, Rizal remained peaceful and strong. During this time, Rizal also completed his famous farewell poem titled Mi Ultimo Adios, which means my last farewell. In this poem, he expressed his deep love for the Philippines and his willingness to sacrifice his life for the country's freedom. On the morning of December 30, 1896, Rizal was brought to Bagumbayan, which is now known as Luneta Park. There, he was executed by firing squad. With dignity and bravery, Rizal faced his death, showing his faith in God and his love for the Filipino people. Although his life ended that day, Rizal's sacrifice did not end the fight of freedom. Instead, his death inspired many Filipinos to continue the struggle for independence. Because of his courage and dedication to his country, Rizal became a martyr and a lasting symbol of Filipino nationalism.
So good day everyone. So for the continuation of the story, as Rizal's final hours approach, the atmosphere inside Fort Santiago became heavier and more emotional. It was December 29, 1896, the day before his execution. Priests, family members, and officials came one by one to see the man who would soon face death. Each visit marked another step closer to the end, yet Rizal remained calm, composed, and dignified. At 3:30 in the afternoon, Father Baliger returned to Fort Santiago to speak with Rizal about an important matter: his alleged retraction of anti-Catholic ideas in his writings and his membership in Masonry. Their discussion focused on religion and faith, a sensitive issue that would later become one of the most controversial topics in the Philippine history. At 4 p.m., Rizal's mother, Doña Tudora, arrived in a deeply emotional moment. Rizal knelt before her and kissed her hands, asking for her forgiveness, and then both mother and son were in tears as the guards eventually separated them. Shortly after, his sister, Trinidad, entered the cell to assist their mother. As they were about to leave, Rizal handed Trinidad a small alcohol cooking stove and whispered in English, "There is something inside." Because Rizal himself had taught her English, Trinidad understood what Rizal was saying. Then hidden inside the stove was his farewell poem, later known as Mi Ultimo Adios. Through her courage, the poem was successfully smuggled out of Fort Santiago. It would later become one of the greatest and most treasured works in the Philippine literature. After his mother and sister left, more Jesuit priests visited him, like Father Villaclara Estanislao March and later Father Russell. At 6 p.m., Rizal received another visitor, Don Salvino Lopez Tonion, the Dean of the Manila Cathedral. Some of the priests left, allowing Rizal to continue his conversation. At 8 p.m., Rizal ate his last supper. During this time, he told Captain Dominguez that he had forgiven his enemies, including the military judges who sentenced him to death. Even in the face of execution, he showed no bitterness. At 9:30 p.m., Don Gaspar Castaño, the fiscal of the Royal Audiencia of Manila, visited him. Rizal, even the gracious host, Evan offered him the best chair in his small cell. After their pleasant conversation, the fiscal left impressed by Rizal's intelligence and noble character. Later that night, at around 10 p.m., a draft of a retraction prepared under Archbishop Bernardino Nozaleda was presented to Rizal for his signature. He rejected it because it was too long and not acceptable to him. According to Father Baliger, a shorter version prepared by Father Pio Pai, the Jesuit superior in the Philippines, was later shown to him. After making some revisions, Rizal reportedly wrote and signed a retraction renouncing Masonry and his anti-Catholic views. This retraction later became one of the most debated issues among historians. Some scholars argue that it was genuine, while others claim it was forgery. However, regardless of the controversy, Rizal's greatness as a hero does not depend on on this single document. When he retracted or not, his sacrifices, writings, and martyrdom remain undeniable. In the early hours of December 30, 1896, at 3 a.m., Rizal heard Mass, confessed his sins, and received Holy Communion. At 5:30 a.m., he ate his final breakfast. Then afterward, he wrote two letters, one to his family and another to his brother Pasiano. The letter of to his sisters will be discussed by my other groupmates. That will reflect his love, strength, and acceptance of his fate. So these final hours revealed not fear but courage, not anger but forgiveness, not weakness but unwavering dignity. So as the sun prepared to rise on December 30, Rizal was preparing to offer his life for his country, calm, faithful, and resolute until the very end. So thank you so much, and I hope that you learned something to my part, and I hope that you all have a great day.
Good day, everyone. I am Jamila Jean de la Cruz Abanico, and in this part of our presentation, I will discuss the final letters written by Jose Rizal before his execution on December 30, 1896. These letters were addressed to his family, his brother Pasiano, and his beloved Josephine Bracken. They show Rizal's courage, love for his family, and his peaceful acceptance of death. In his letter to his family, Rizal asked forgiveness for the pain his execution would cause them. He told them that someday everyone must die, and he preferred to die with a clear conscience. He also asked his family to stay united, forgive one another, and treat their parents with love and respect. Rizal requested a very simple burial. He asked to be buried in the ground with only a stone and a cross marking his grave. Rizal also wrote a heartfelt letter to his older brother Pasiano Rizal. In this letter, he thanked Pasiano for all the sacrifices he made to support his education. He said that if his life's work had a bitter result, it was not his fault, but the result of circumstances. Rizal also insisted that he was innocent of the crime of rebellion. Before ending the letter, he asked Pasiano to tell their father that he remembered him and ask for forgiveness for the pain he had caused. Before his execution, Rizal's partner Josephine Bracken visited him early in the morning. They said their final goodbye with a great sadness. Rizal gave her a last gift, a religious book titled The Imitation of Christ, written by Thomas A. Kempis. He wrote a message in the book for her, calling her his dear and happy wife. Around 6 o'clock in the morning, Rizal wrote his final letters to his parents. He asked forgiveness from his father for the pain his death would cause. He explained that he did not choose this fate, but it was the result of circumstances. He also wrote a short farewell to his mother, Teodora Alonso. These letters are important because they reveal Rizal's character. Even in his final moments, he remained calm, loving, and thoughtful toward his family. He expressed gratitude, forgiveness, and peace. His last words show that he died with dignity and clear conscience, which is why he is remembered today as our national hero. Now that is all on my part. Now let us proceed to the next speaker.
Good day everyone. Today I will discuss the death march of Dr. Jose Rizal to Bagumbayan, which happened on December 30, 1896. At around 6:30 in the morning, a trumpet sounded at Fort Santiago, signaling the start of Rizal's final journey to the execution site at Bagumbayan, which is now known as Lunita or Rizal Park. Rizal was escorted by 4 Spanish soldiers with bayoneted rifles. Walking beside him were his defense counsel, Lieutenant Luis Tabil de Andrade, and 2 Jesuit priests, Fathers March and Villa Clara. More armed soldiers followed behind them. Despite knowing that he was about to be executed, Rizal remained calm and composed. He was dressed elegantly in a black suit, black hat, black shoes, a white shirt, and a black tie. His arms were tied behind his back, but the rope was loose enough to allow some movement. As they marched slowly, the sound of drums was heard. Only a few spectators watched along the streets from Fort Santiago to the Plaza del Palacio near Manila Cathedral, but a much larger crowd gathered at Bagumbayan to witness the event. When they passed through the Postego Gate, one of the gates of the old city wall of Manila, they reached the Malecon, which is now Bonifacio Drive. At that moment, Rizal looked at the sky and peacefully said to one of the priests that the morning was beautiful and calm. He even mentioned that on mornings like that, he used to walk with his sweetheart. As they passed in front of the Ateneo, Rizal noticed the college towers and asked the priest if it was the Ateneo. The priest confirmed it. Finally, they arrived at the Gumbayan field, where a large crowd had gathered. The soldiers formed a huge square around the area. Rizal calmly walked to the place where he was instructed to stand on a grassy area near Manila Bay, between 2 lampposts. This moment marked the final steps of Rizal before his execution, showing his bravery, dignity, and love for his country. So thank you for listening.
Good day everyone, my name is Aisel Dijito and now let's talk about the topic Martyrdom of a Hero. At 7:03 a.m. on December 30, 1896, Jose Rizal was executed by a firing squad at Bagumbayan, dying at the age of 35 with his face torn toward the morning sun. The final moments of Rizal were filled with deep symbolism and solemnity. Before his execution, he took the time to bid a farewell to his defender Luis Tavel de Andrade and the press present. Although his arms were bound, he showed reverence by bowing his head and kissing a crucifix offered to him. His request to face the firing squad was denied due to strict orders that he be shot in the back as a traitor. However, in a final act of supreme effort and will, as the bullets struck him, he turned his body to the right so that he would fall face up toward the sky. Next is his courage in the face of death. Rizal refused to be afraid. A military physician found his pulse perfectly normal, and he requested to face his executioners to prove his innocence. Rizal's composure during his execution was nothing short of extraordinary. Just moments before the command to fire was given, a Spanish military physician, Dr. Felipe Ruiz Castillo, asked to feel Rizal's pulse out of curiosity. To the doctor's absolute amazement, the pulse was perfectly normal, providing that Rizal felt no fear in his final seconds. So this calmness validated his life work. He was a man who truly believed in his cause and was ready to die for it without hesitation and regret. Lastly is his prophetic destiny. 14 years before his execution, while still a student in Madrid, Rizal recorded a dream in his diary predicting he would die on December 30th. Perhaps the most chilling part of this history is that Rizal seemingly predicted his own death over a decade earlier. On January 1, 1883, while he was a medical student in Spain, he wrote in his diary about a frightful nightmare he had 2 nights prior on December 30th. In that dream, he felt his breath failing and his vision becoming dim as he died. Exactly 14 years to the day after that dream, his vision of dying on December 30th became a reality, cementing his place as a hero who met his rendezvous with destiny. Alright, so in conclusion, we see that Rizal was more than just a national hero. He was a man of peace who faced a violent end with a calm heart. From his lonely Christmas to his final breath at Bagumbayan, he proved that his love for the Philippines was stronger than his fear of death.
Hello everyone, this is Hazel Segovia and welcome to the last topic of chapter 25 in the life and works of Rizal. So the last topic will all about the aftermath of a hero martyr's death. So the execution of Jose Rizal on December 30, 1896 marked a turning point in Philippine history. So Although the Spanish authorities believed that killing Rizal would silence the movement for reform and freedom, his death instead strengthened Filipino nationalism. And the events after his execution revealed the contrasting reactions of the Spanish colonizers and the Filipino people and how Rizal's ideas continued to inspire the struggle for independence. And Spaniards celebrated Rizal's execution. So after the execution of Jose Rizal at Bagumbayan field, many Spanish officials, residents, and supporters openly celebrated his death, and some shouted Viva España and death to the traitors. So while the Spanish military band played the celebratory march, Marcha de Cádiz, these reactions showed that many Spanish authorities believed Rizal was a dangerous enemy of the colonial government. And though his death would stop the growing movement for reform and independence, so the Spanish authorities failed to understand Rizal's influence, because despite their celebration, the Spaniards did not realize that Rizal's execution would have the opposite effect. So instead of stopping the nationalist movement, it strengthened the determination of Filipinos to fight for freedom. So Rizal's death symbolized the injustice of Spanish rule and inspired many Filipinos to continue the struggle for independence. And Rizal's ideas were more powerful than the bullets that killed him. So although the firing squad ended the life of Jose Rizal, it could not destroy the ideas that he spread through his writings. So his novels, essays, and speeches exposed the abuses of Spanish colonial rule and awakened Filipino nationalism. So these ideas continued to influence Filipinos and helped inspire the revolution that eventually challenged Spanish authority in the Philippines. And a tribute to Rizal's sacrifice, the Filipino poet Cecilio Apostol wrote a tribute honoring Rizal's sacrifices. So his poem expressed that although Rizal's body was destroyed by bullets, his ideas had the power to destroy an empire. So this poetic tribute highlighted the belief that Rizal's death was not the end of his influence but the beginning of a stronger movement for freedom. Then Rizal's writings awakened Filipino nationalism. So through his works and intellectual contributions, Jose Rizal awakened the national consciousness of Filipinos. So his writings inspired people to recognize the injustices of colonial rule and to seek reforms and independence. So because of this, Rizal's life and death became a symbol of courage, patriotism, and the power of ideas in shaping a nation's history. And Rizal became the national hero of the Philippines. So because of his sacrifices, achievements, and influence on the Philippine Revolution, Jose Rizal is honored as the national hero of the Philippines. And his life as a writer, scientist, reformist, and martyr earned him the respect of the Filipino people. And lastly, his legacy continues to inspire future generations to value freedom, justice, and love for the country.